Welcome back everybody for round 13 of the PCDC Managers League, and we are here in Estoril with John Nielsen lining up on the front row with Alain Prost alongside of him, and the light will turn green and we're off as Alain Prost initially gets a good launch on the outside of the track, and let's see if we can make that overtake into turn one. It is Alain Prost and Maurizio Gugelmin. Maurizio Gugelmin sneaks up the inside actually of John Nielsen. They were 3 wide momentarily there, and now it is John Nielsen fending off Alain Prost into Curva 3, and now into Curva VIP. And John Nielsen remains in second now, losing his pole position off the race start. And Emerson Fittipaldi already made it up into P3. Alain Prost P4. Nelson Piquet with a nice race start up into P5. Then we have Jan Lammers, race winner of the previous round. He's in P6 with Ayrton Senna right behind him. Senna also good up to pace, was only a couple of tenths behind the pole lap. Then we have Michael Andretti in 8th, so the Tyrrell up into the points again, but Ross Cheever not too far behind. He's hunting those points, and let's see here as Cheever gets a run on the inside, heading into Curva in, or Curva 1. Ross Cheever can't make that move, so Michael Andretti holding on for now. Look here, that's a horrible camera angle, but Emerson Fittipaldi still in, well, made it up to second actually, past John Nielsen. The Ferrari's looking really strong again, and well, they've had a unfortunate run of form, we could say, with a with 2 double DNFs in a row, but now here they're already starting to make a little bit of a gap. Gugelmin in the lead as we go on board with Riccardo Patrese in the Ligier, as he's being passed by Roberto Moreno in the second Lotus. Let's see if Moreno completes that move. Yes, he does. So Moreno up into P11. Will now hunt down the next Ligier of Mika Hakkinen. Down the straightaway they go once again. Obviously, laps go by quite quickly here. We're already on lap 3. And on the inside now of Mika Hakkinen, no, Hakkinen fends off Roberto Moreno in the Lotus. They head up to Curva 3. We will keep an eye on that, and let's see now as Yannick Dalmas is now up into P13. Does have a little bit of a train behind him. He has Bobby Rahal in the BMW and Michele Alboreto in the Minardi. Minardi looking a bit slower this time around. Ross Cheever and Alboreto last time around really capitalizing off of a lot of DNFs. Even though they had their own issues during the race, they still managed to get a what I believe was a 4th and 5th position, so really solid. And yeah, Dalmas again not quite up to pace. I think it's quite clear that McLaren need to look for a replacement for Dalmas, because they need someone to back up Alain Prost. Granted, they need Alain Prost to stay as well for 1990. Here comes Michele Alboreto and Bobby Rahal. So Bobby Rahal moves past Michele Alboreto. And although it's not been an issue for Ross Cheever that much, have started to notice that the Minardi is down on horsepower, and well, that makes you think back to the start of the season where, of course, Minardi sold their initial engine package to Tyrrell, I believe it was, not mistaken. So they sold their Renault engine to Tyrrell in a multifaceted deal. Of course, they financially benefited from, but means they had to go with the Ford engine. All the other manufacturing deals were wrapped up. And maybe that has hurt them in the long run here. We will never know, of course, but here on the straightaway, the Tyrrell cannot stay ahead. We'll see. Cheever tries to move to the inside, but no. Michael Andretti keeps holding on in P7 there. I think we had another pass there. Roberto Moreno again getting past Patrese, so those two still going at it. Moreno going slightly defensive. And now we can see as well Yannick Dalmas creating some distance between him and Michele Alboreto and the rest of the field, basically. Go a bit further back. Then we have Bobby Rahal. We have the 2 Eurobruns, Eddie Lawson and Nakajima. Seems like, well, they've had a good run here in the last couple of rounds. Eurobruns scoring 5 points with Eddie Lawson. So, sure, Cozy is very pleased with the way things are going. They're, well, again, we've talked about it before, but they're managing to stay ahead of BMW being a manufacturer and Williams being a well-established name, of course, in F1. And, well, championship winners, of course, Williams. So, yeah, Eurobrun as a newcomer very decently. And we have Eddie Lawson here getting past Bobby Rahal. But, yeah, it doesn't look like it's Eurobrun's track here today, as looks like they will, well, without any irregularities, they'll finish outside of the top 10. We go further back. Jeff Lee's here. He's, well, not last. His teammate is last, I think. But, oh, what actually happened? Roberto Moreno must have had a spin somewhere that I missed. So Moreno to the back of the pack, so he'll have a big job to do. But, yeah, there wasn't any yellow flags or anything, so not quite sure what happened, but we'll keep an eye on him. And Martin Brundle in that Williams seems to be slowly losing touch with the pack, so Williams really not having a good run here, as Patrese reporting issues coming around the last corner. He'll pull into the pits. So Riccardo Patrese in for an early stop for Ligier. Patrese comes in. Let's see what the crew can do here. Into the pits he goes. Fresh set of tires on there. And Patrese out again, comes out. Not too far behind Moreno, but a big time loss, of course. To the front of the field now, Maurizio Gugelmin. He's drawing out that lead, as we've seen him do a couple times this season already in that all-dominant Ferrari, but like we've seen in the last 2 rounds, bit of a fragile Ferrari, perhaps, still. Yeah, but anytime they've raced Ferrari and got to the finish line, they've looked mighty. And you can see as well, Emerson Fittipaldi managed to distance himself quite a lot from Alain Prost behind. I must say that Ferrari package is just working wonders for them. Seen time and time again, of course, that we know the Lotus is running the Ferrari engine, and by all means they've looked fast. It's just been an issue of getting to the line at the end of the race. That's been the main gripe with the Lotus. But you can really see that Ferrari package has been a spectacular package for this season, and well, manufacturing team really taking advantage of that. And Alain Prost is well, trying to definitely make the last part of the season a lot better here. So we'll see. But yeah, Prost making a bit of a comeback with that really slow start of the season. Managed to pick up a win in round 10 and 11. Also had a win in round 6, of course, due to circumstances. But yeah, the rest of the season he scored 5 points in round 2, 8 points in round 5, 4 points in round 7, 2 points in round 8, a lot of DNFs as well. So yeah, hasn't looked great. And now we have Johnny Herbert, who has come in to replace JJ Leto for the remainder of the season, it seems like, and now struggling with electrical issues. We've seen time and time again that Benetton is just riddled with mechanical issues. Well, I guess this isn't a mechanical issue, but just reliability issues. He once again it strikes for Johnny Herbert, and Nelson Piquet has had his fair share of DNFs and issues preventing him to end up in a good position. So Herbert will try and limp this car to the pits. Still has quite a way to go. Now, as we now have the other cars with issues coming through, we have Moreno will be held up quite a bit here as they go through the slower section. The S's, and then now around the outside, I think. Then comes Patrese, who's also looking for a way through. Oh, and they collide. Oh, a disaster, a disaster. Johnny Herbert trying to come into the pits. Smacks into the side of Ricardo Patrese, trying to pass him, and that was just unfortunate timing. But yeah, Johnny Herbert comes in, tries to get that issue resolved, and gets his pit stop out of the way, but obviously he'll have to probably stop another time now compared to the other cars. One extra time. Meanwhile, at the front, we have Mauricio Gugelmin still leading, still strong. Then Emerson Fittipaldi not too far behind. Comes Alain Prost. So the top three in a bit of a league of their own, but Nelson Piquet actually not too far behind the like of Alain Prost. And Ayrton Senna, again, not too far behind either. But then meanwhile, we do have John Nielsen and Jan Lammers who have started to drop back. So not quite sure what's going on with the Zach speeds here. And now we have someone pulling over on the main straight. Yannick Dalmas, fortunately, will not finish the race today. And there comes another issue. Bobby Rahal. Bobby Rahal in the BMW. And must be said that BMW package is so troubled this season. And let's hope they can get their act together for 1990. Because yeah, it's a bit of a shame seeing BMW come into the sport like this, but double retirement on lap 11 here for BMW and McLaren. Give me one moment here, right back. Okay, and we're back. So Alain Prost still in third. Nelson Piquet not too far behind. Let's take a look now. Ayrton Senna also creating a bit of distance, about 2.5 seconds between him and John Nielsen. But after their great result last time around for Zach Speed, they're not looking too great here. So I wonder what kind of issues they're having. But yeah, that Zach Speed not looking too great. They're currently in 6th and 9th, which will definitely hurt their championship run here, as it looks like Ferrari is gonna get a great round in here. Obviously, still a long way to go, so a lot can happen. And Mika Hakkinen inside the top 10, not far away from the points, only about a second and a half in it, as both Lammers and Hakkinen now seem to close up a bit onto the back of Ross Cheever and Michael Andretti. So a bit of a four-way fight for the points. And we have Eddie Lawson here actually making up quite a bit of positions there with the retirement. So he's on the cusp of the top 10 again. So yeah, Eurobrun have been looking pretty good the last few rounds and throughout the season. Calao Barreto in 12th. Bit of a battle here between Alonso Jr. and Jeff Lees. Lees trying to send it up the inside. They go side by side up to Curva 2. And Alonso Jr. holds on there. Now we do have the Williams finding a little bit of pace here. Reportedly, Williams not bringing any upgrades for this round. So yeah, they're just trying to salvage some of those points for the last part of the season, but their fight seems to be only with BMW at the moment. There's 1 point in it between them. And it would be great to see Williams not finishing last compared to the previous year. Time will tell. We'll go back here to Michael Andretti at the front of this little train that's starting to form. Oh, and a bit of a mistake there for Andretti. Runs slightly wide, but Ross Cheever can't capitalize, but now it means the other two cars have closed up of Jan Lammers and Mika Hakkinen. That's that train we've been talking about. And Lammers now hounding the back of Ross Cheever. Ross Cheever going slightly defensive as they head through Parabolica Interior. Ross Cheever is looking fast, but said before, they struggle on the straightaway, so he'll have to time his run perfectly to get past Michael Andretti, who we've seen before is a master at defending, of course. Experienced American. And Ross Cheever now to the inside. Can he get enough of a run? Don't think he will. No, Michael Andretti still holding on. Well, Jan Lammers and Mika Hakkinen not quite fast enough, I think, to keep up with these guys. It's only because they're battling. Oh, and again, a bit of a mistake there. Michael Andretti's locking up again, so not having the best of time. Meanwhile at the front, Mauricio Gugelmin extending that lead. Now 7 seconds ahead of his teammate, so Gugelmin looking to make another dominant run and well, trying to recapture that the lead of the driver's standings, and of course the constructors as well, because Ferrari is now 2 points behind Zach Speed after that last result. Meanwhile, we have Alain Prost. He'll be fighting to get McLaren anywhere close to those two, but it seems very unlikely at this point. Yeah, we did obviously expect a bit more. Oh, and big crash between... Oh, that was Alonso Jr., Patrese, and let's see here. Someone else is stricken. Jeff Lees is still going, but oh my god, what an amount of carnage. That was Patrese, Brundle, Alonso Jr. all involved in a big crash there, it seems like. And meanwhile, Jeff Lees without a front wing, so he was caught up in that whole disaster. But yeah, what a crash. Hope all the drivers are okay, but in one fell swoop, that is 3 drivers out of this race, and Jeff Lees limping to the pits, looking for a new wing as Theo Fabi comes through there. You can just see, of course, that front wing makes it so you lose a ton of downforce. So he'll just be limping his way to the pits, and kind of reminiscent of the earlier 80s cars without the front wing. But obviously teams have now started to recognize the importance of running a front wing. And Jeff Lees comes in there. They will fit on a new front wing. And he will be out again, but will come out in last place. But, well, Jeff Lees gets out with a scare, but unfortunately for Patrese, Brundle, and Al Unser Jr., they will all be retiring to the pits. And Guillermin still looking very strong. Well, we have Johnny Herbert back up into P16. Lees right behind him, but here comes Emerson Fittipaldi. So they've already been lapped by Mauricio Gugelmin. Now comes Emerson Fittipaldi, and let's actually see what the pace is. Fittipaldi, who's obviously on older tires, and Jeff Lees on brand new, fresh rubber. So yeah, Lees actually not doing too bad, but I think on the straightaway that Ferrari will gain a lot of time, like we can see here, compared to the Williams, the BMW. Yeah, in the corners now you can see on those fresh tires that Lees can actually somewhat stay ahead. Let's see how Fittipaldi manages to maneuver his way through. Fittipaldi managing to just about maneuver past Jeff Lees, and Lees will now possibly sit in the slipstream of the Ferrari, trying to gain some time, as he's obviously miles behind now. Prost still only about 3 or so seconds ahead of Nelson Piquet, who Benetton had their own issues last race around with Tony Herbert with a crash, I think it was. Or did he retire because of mechanical issues? But PK as well with a DNF, so no points for them last time around. And they're obviously still within reach of Minardi, fighting for that 5th spot in the constructors, and Lotus not too far out of reach. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Senna now in P5. John Nielsen up in P6 with Jan Lammers in 8th. So yeah, the Zach Speed having some struggles here at Estoril. One of those rare moments where we haven't seen them inside the top 5. So end of the season, obviously, teams will be looking at next season cars as well, as we will try to get some early development done to try and get ahead of the opposition, possibly. But yeah, Lammers and Nielsen just hovering on the tail end of the points. With Michael Andretti and Mika Häkkinen just waiting to take any slip up from the cars in front. And we have Eddie Lawson still in P11. Michele Alboreto struggling a bit compared to his teammate, who is about 12 or 13 seconds behind him now after 22 laps. Obviously, Alboreto coming in, see, when was it? I think from round 7 onwards, so this will be a 6th race, I believe, for the team. And, you know, he's needing some time to settle in, possibly, and I'm sure next year he could do a bit better than he's doing now after getting the initial season testing out of the way, the winter testing, all that kind of stuff. You know, has already managed to put some points on the boards for Minardi, 9 to be exact, so has done a lot better than Pierluigi Martini, of course, who didn't manage to score any points. But obviously Ross Cheever, 36, still carrying the big load for Minardi. But you know, that being said, in half of the races, Alboreto has scored about a third of the points that Ross Cheever has. So, you know, as a second driver, if he'd done the entire season, I assume Alboreto would have been fine as a second driver with Ross Cheever leading the charge. Well, he's given a reason at least for Minardi to consider him for next season. Doesn't mean they will, but the Italian proving that, you know, he can hang around the top of the top of the racing world. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what kind of lap times the drivers are running here. So it's all fairly spread out. We have Lammers and Häkkinen going slightly faster than Ross Cheever. But the top 6 is fairly staggered in lap time. So Maurizio Gugelmin incredibly lapping about half a second faster than his teammate. And second or more compared to most of the field. And then in the midfield we might see some battles. But yeah, this looks like the order is playing out quite naturally to the pace of the cars, you could say. So every car's position right now is pretty accurate if we compare that to the lap times. Nelson Piquet still just running in fourth, just outside of the podium positions. He's running his race. And yeah, nothing too bad. And John Nielsen now getting an early pit call here. So that does make me wonder, will the teams make 2 pit stops here today? Obviously, Estoril, very high degradation. Oh, and an issue here. Flames coming out of the back of the Minardi. The Pepsi Minardi going up in flames. And Ross Cheever will have to find a way to somewhere to stop as there's black smoke coming out. So that must be an oil leak or something. As Ross Cheever parks the car up, he'll have to jump out now, get over the barriers, and let the marshals deal with that as the yellow flags come out to warn the other drivers. But that will be the end of the Minardi for this race. So it's all up to Michele Alboreto again, and well, gives a good chance to Benetton to close up to Minardi, and if we're being honest. John Nielsen here coming into the pits. Let's see how the Zach Speed crew fares. So they do perfectly fine, 5.7 seconds, and then next one to come into the pits will be Ayrton Senna. So Nielsen and Senna both looking for an undercut. So Ross Cheever, another casualty. And Senna now from that 5th position. Still looking to get a bit further up, but pace-wise that is not going to work, I don't think. And Prost and Piquet now also getting pit calls, so Piquet might have tried to get the jump on Prost in front, but that is not going to happen, of course, as the Lotus comes in there. Obviously, as we can see, the pit crew of Lotus still wearing last year's attire, as they still have camel on their jerseys that they're wearing, or their shirts. Michael Andretti now getting past Ayrton Senna, still has to pit, of course. You can see now the pace difference for Senna as we can go on board here. Even tries to send it up the inside here, Senna. He's not in a patient mood today. Right onto the back of Michael Andretti. But Andretti not too keen to let him by, so as they come out of the Parabolica now, Ayrton Senna will finally get the clean air he was looking for. And of cars in front now getting their pit calls, but here goes Senna now on a full speed lap on fresh tires, a lower fuel load. And you can see he's flying if compared to Mika Hakkinen in front. Start of the lap, Hakkinen about 2 seconds ahead. And I assume Senna will be right onto the back of him at the end of this lap. It might be close to a 2-second lap advantage here for Senna on those fresh tires. As you can see now, through the corners, just taking so much more speed than Hakkinen in front. There we go. Comes around Aurelia. Turn 8 into the S section. What they call the S section, not really an S, but somewhat resembles an S, I guess, if you count the parabolica with it. And on the straightaway, Hakkinen, of course, coming in as well. Now, Senna keeps it going. Back up into P5, and Emerson Fittipaldi has also made his stop. That won't be enough to overhaul his teammate, I don't think. And Alboreto now listening for his call as well. As we're starting lap 30 now with Mauricio Gugelmin coming into the pits. Let's follow him out of the pits. Oh, and actually got blocked by someone, I think. Yeah, so that was a W coming into the pits, I think. Theo Fabi, so yeah. Got blocked a little bit there, Gugelmin, but doesn't matter. Had such a big lead compared to his teammate Fittipaldi. That Gugelmin is unbothered by the shenanigans in the pits. And yeah. Fittipaldi quite a ways behind still his teammate. We have Alain Prost in third. He's looking solid now, Alain Prost, but yeah, McLaren's hopes of getting near that Constructors' Championship are slipping away, of course. Prost still being in the running for that Drivers' World Championship, so Jan Lammers at the front now with 56 points. Prost in second with 49, and then comes Mauricio Gugelmin with 48. Depending on how Jan Lammers scores, Mauricio Gugelmin might still not take the lead after this race. But yeah, Prost just trying to slowly work his way up, and I don't think he'll be able to touch those Ferraris today because they look mighty fast. Of course, Prost still sporting that number 1 for winning the World Championship last year. He'll have to make an amazing effort to repeat that feat this year. You can tell Prost is trying his hardest, of course, and well, he's clearly in his prime still, but McLaren hasn't given him quite the car to perform this season, it seems like. Granted, should McLaren have had a better second driver, could have possibly been in the running for the constructors, because you can see McLaren is only about 25 points or so, well, let's say 28 points now behind Zach Speed. But considering that Dalmas only scored 12 points, Alain Prost meanwhile scoring 49, nearly 5 times as much as his teammate. Let's say another teammate would have scored about half the points of Prost. That makes it so that you're almost straight up there again. Maybe some lucky results here and there. So yeah, maybe a bit of an oversight for McLaren. Counting too much on the synergy of the two Frenchmen working together. Not to say that Dalmas might not improve in the next years, but this year definitely not getting the best out of that McLaren. Meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi still running fine. John Nielsen in 6th here, as we can see. So, Eddie's probably pretty happy right now with how his team is performing. Challenging for that constructor's title, also for the Drivers' World Championship. Granted, the team not looking the greatest so far today. There's a lot of time still to go. We're only just under halfway of this race, so a lot can happen. And Guillermin now catching up to one of the Euro Bruns. That might be Nakajima. Emerson Fittipaldi on the back of a Williams and a Benetton, which will be Jeff Lees and Johnny Herbert, I believe. As we now have Prost coming through on Theo Fabi. And yeah, you do really hope that BMW can get the act together and be a bit more competitive for next season. But Paulie's still going. Maurizio Guillermin now onto the back of Nakajima. Come through. Now Nakajima possibly gonna use that slipstream a bit. Try to keep up. Comes Fittipaldi on a straightaway on the back of the Benetton of Johnny Herbert, I believe that is. Just see, oh, look at how much more speed that Ferrari carries through the corners. Possibly a little bit of a mistake there, I think it was. Now, Herbert and Jeff Lee still fighting for position, so we'll stay in them for 13th and 14th. Yeah, Herbert still holding on, but it actually looks like Jeff Lees might be a bit faster. But again, we know the Williams not the fastest on the straightaway, but here comes Lees now. Heading up to Curva 1. Will they go side by side? No, I think Johnny Herbert just about holds on that straightaway. The Benetton just doing slightly better. Oh, and a bit of a mistake there for Johnny Herbert. If Lees can't quite capitalize. Still, these two still running closely together. And just about halfway through the race. But yeah, Johnny Herbert fending off Jeff Lees for now. So we'll keep an eye on the standings, see if anything changes on that respect. Go through now to Fabi still running in last. Nelson Piquet running in 4th, that is good. Johnny Herbert is getting a pit call. Obviously, let's remember Johnny Herbert came in early for that that issue he had. I don't know if it was an electrical issue, but I think it was. So he'll have to make another, an extra pit stop, I believe, compared to all the other drivers, because he won't have good enough tires to go until the end. So that will finally give Jeff Lees the break he needs to pass the Benetton. Johnny Herbert coming in for extra stop, which will make his total probably 3 at the end of the race compared to the 2 that most will be doing, I believe. Yep, so Herbert now comes into the pits and serviced by the Benetton crew. Well, now Ayrton Senna still holding on in P5. About 5 seconds ahead of, you could see in the background there, John Nielsen. So Nielsen and Lammers in P6 and 7. Which, well, makes the deficit a bit smaller to Ferrari at this point. But Ferrari looking to score 18 points here today. So that would bring their total up to 105 points for the season so far, which would be, well, seen been quite dominant so far, but the last string of DNFs has made it so that Zach Speed has caught up again. So in the meanwhile, Ayrton Senna, Lotus, yeah, not quite where they should be, I believe. On 51 points behind McLaren with 61. McLaren being third place in the constructors. Both of them quite far removed from the top 2. But yeah, what could have been, I think, for McLaren and Lotus this season. And also, you might be running it. Wow, I'm tripping over my words here today. You might be wondering, that's what I meant to say, what Senna is thinking at this point in time, because there's only so much the Brazilian will take. We've seen his potential, and well, many thought that this could be his championship run this year. Yeah, again, it seems like the Lotus just falls a bit short for Senna to do something. So yeah, you do wonder if his patience will run out with this team at the end of the season. So far, Senna putting in a good stint in P5, really trying to get the Lotus up to the positions where it belongs, and doing so, I believe. I don't think it's the best car at this point in time, at this point in the season. And he is probably maximizing the potential. Now, Nakajima also struggling with an issue, going slow. Let's see if he can make it back to the pits as he's coming to Parabolica Interior. And now down to Aurelia. Oh, and actually that'll be the end of the race for Nakajima, so won't make it back to the pits, and he'll just pull over on the inside there, coming out of turn 7. And that will be the end of one of the Eurobruns, their races. Yeah, the Marshal helping that car to the side of the track, lifted over the barriers. But that's an exit for the Eurobrun. Meanwhile, Mika Hakkinen, you can see Marshall's waving the yellow flags for that incident. But Hakkinen still doing fine in P8 now, so Ligier looking at possibly another point. Of course, Lee Patrese DNFing, of course. We do have Michael Andretti not too far behind Mika Hakkinen, and remember those two, Ligier and Eurobrun, still fighting each other in the constructors. Or Ligier and Tyrrell, I should say, sorry. So Tyrrell on 35 points at the moment, while Ligier is on 26. So it seems unlikely for Ligier to still catch up the 9-point deficit, but you know, a couple of point scoring positions for Ligier and Tyrrell just falling short could spell an interesting part of the season. Of course, Tyrrell's real fight seems to be with Benetton this season. Benetton in P6, only 2 points ahead of Tyrrell. It's been a case of Tyrrell not all out the fastest car this season, but have managed to consistently be in the points paying positions. Just look at the results. Let's look here. So Michael Andretti scoring in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds so far. So scored in 7 of the 13 rounds, or 12 rounds, I should say, because you can still score points here. And then Al Unser Jr. scoring in 4 rounds, but Al Unser Jr. seems to be the more unlucky of the two cars involved in a lot of DNFs this season, Unser Jr., so I'm sure he'll have missed out on some points. And now we have issues here for Mika Hakkinen in the Ligier, running inside those points, and as we said there, that gives Michael Andretti the chance now to pick up some points. So Hakkinen going very slowly, managing the brakes, whatever issue it is he has. And then you can see Michael Andretti there in the background, coming to claim that position. Through goes Andretti. Now we go into a section, so a little bit more to go for Hakkinen. Can he get through the Parabolica into the pits? He will do so, but again means an extra pit stop for the Ligier, which, well, makes it doubtful that he'll make it into the points paying positions again. I'm not sure if the other teams will still pit a second time, but Hakkinen now fresh tires on, getting that issue resolved in the pits, and there he goes. On his way again. Comes out in front of the likes of Jeff Lee, Theo Fabi, and Johnny Herbert, so can really start putting in some laps. And let's see if we can maybe get close to like a fastest lap on those fresh tires. Jeff Lees as well, getting a pit call. So are we getting close to that second pit window? I wonder. Does seem very likely now with about 27 laps still to go.
Pit at the end of this lap.
Yeah, seems likely. Oh! And Jeff Lee's getting that call for the pits, and at the same time, his engine billowing smoke out of the back. And surely that will mean the end of the race for Lee's. Maybe engine overheating, I'm not quite sure. White smoke coming out of the back. And see now Theo Fabi catching up at a rapid rate, so big loss of power for the Williams. And might be again an issue with that BMW package. Yeah, trying to... Well, I'm not sure if he's nursing the car around or if it's just a desperate move to keep going. but now being overtaken by all the runners behind him. And Johnny Herbert now the last of the field, coming through as well. And oh, so Lees does pull into the pits. That's interesting now. I wonder if they can fix that issue. So, see, smoking, yeah, it does seem so. It does seem that they can actually fix that issue. So, was it maybe a lucky break that his intended pit stop was this lap? And well, that's one of the only times I think I've seen an engine issue being resolved in the pits. So maybe just a loose hose, losing some cooling fluid, or whatever it might be. But yeah, Jeff Lees keeps going after an engine issue, which is well, you won't see that happen very often. I can tell you that. Jeff Lee's keeping himself going, keeping the run going, and well, actually, but I was gonna say it's gonna put him inside the top 10, but at least it keeps him going for now. And Mike Andretti now running inside the points, of course. Nielsen and Lammers still in 6th and 7th. Ayrton Senna in 5th. Nelson Piquet still in 4th. And if we compare last lap times, take a look now. Fittipaldi had quite a slow lap last time around. But again, most of the times looking pretty staggered. We have some more cars getting their pit call. So yeah, this will be the last pit stop of the day. As Gugelmin also coming in for an early second pit stop. So just wants to solidify his lead, not take any chances. He'll probably just come out behind his teammate and in front of Prost, because I think he's made that he's made enough of a gap to Alain Prost to be able to afford the pit stop. So we can actually take a look here, follow Gugelmin into the pits. Stop might come at a good time here for Gugelmin as he was catching up to some of the back markers. Follow him in, and so does Andretti. He comes in for his pit stop. And of course, we know the Ferrari sporting those golden stripes. They have one on the on top of the airbox. And then on the side of their rear wing, and a little bit of gold on the tip of the nose as well, just to signify their championship that they won last year, the Constructors' Championship, of course. And well, it's gonna be close this season, but it might be a possibility for Ferrari to actually get both a constructors and a drivers championship, so to get the double championship, which would be a first for the PCDC Managers League. Of course, we know Alain Prost winning that championship last year, so he's been on form. Yeah, McLaren just falling a bit short. And now Ferrari has had a great package with a good drivers lineup. Parecchio, Gugelmin, and Fittipaldi. Of course, we can see Fittipaldi not quite scoring as much as his younger teammates, but has definitely put in a solid effort and a nice points divide between the two Ferraris. That Gugelmin is on 48 points at the moment, with Fittipaldi on 39, so they've really spread the workload this year. And Fittipaldi, even though he was carrying the team last season, it seems like perhaps the run of the veteran Brazilian is coming to an end, and although still very competitive, it feels like he might be passing the torch here soon, as we know someone like Gilles de Ferran is up and coming in the reserve ranks of Ferrari, signed that multi-year deal with them. And he's rearing to go, of course. So we will see if he gets the shot next year, or if they will elect to have someone else in the car. Here comes Gugelmin now, getting past Michael Andretti, and yeah, Gugelmin just running comfortably in that first position, and looks like he's heading on to a dominant victory over the rest of the field. And at this rate, he'll finish up on what will be 58 points. So he'll have 58 points. Lammers is in 7th now, which is 2 points for him, which actually would mean that Lammers would have 2 points. So they'd be drawn in the Drivers' Championship. Obviously, Ferrari will take a big lead in the Constructors over Zach Speed, but Lammers and Gugelmin at this point of the race will draw in the Drivers. But I will make it a very close last 3 rounds, of course. And if we then count back on wins, I think there'll be a close one, actually, because Gugelmin has a lot of second places, and I think Lammers actually has two wins, and Gugelmin would get his second win here, which is quite unbelievable to say, honestly. Gugelmin only managing 1 win so far in the season, but has 4 second places, so that's where all his points come from. So if Gugelmin scores his second victory here, that would put him on top of Jan Lammers, just because of the fact that he has 4 second places after that. So if we're counting wins, then second places, then third places, it would be Gugelmin that leads the World Championship, even though the points are equal between the two. So yeah, the Brazilian doing his job for Ferrari, and Machihila is looking at it, and looking at his driver leading out in front very proudly. And he's really created some sort of Brazilian intake program. Of course, we have Gilles de Ferran now, who's Portuguese, so that will be another influx of driver. But you wonder if Gilles de Ferran will get his chance next year. Actually, what am I saying? He's not a he's not Brazilian. He's also Brazilian, of course. So I always mix up some of the drivers between Portuguese drivers and Brazilian drivers. But yeah, Gilles is, might be getting his chance next year, and you wonder how he can fare. So don't just forget about the whole part where I said he was Portuguese. Obviously, he was He's Brazilian, but born in France, of course. And obviously, he's currently. I don't think he's competing in any other series. He's doing some junior series, some karting and stuff. But I think in you take a look back, Gilles de Ferran, 1987, he actually won the Formula 4 championship in Brazil. And this point in time, I don't think he's racing anywhere notable. Still might be in that in the Brazilian leagues, just having a bit of fun. But obviously, the big thing is that he's a test driver for Ferrari, and with being in such a prestigious organization, you do think that they have plans for him, so we'll see how they manage next year and what the plans are. Of course, will Emerson Fittipaldi stay? That's the big question. He's getting up there in age now, so you do wonder. Why did you Google me now? 17 laps from the end, extended his advantage over his teammate 15 seconds. Has 34 seconds, nearly 35 on Alain Prost in third. So we can definitely say it's a incredibly dominant performance. Meanwhile, Nelson Piquet still running in that fourth spot. See how far behind Prost, so 2 seconds. See at the lap times. Nelson Piquet, well, it says in the last lap time he was going slightly slower than Prost. I'm just keen to see here if Prost might have made a mistake that lap. Caused a bit of a slower lap time. No, so Prost a 14.3, Piquet a 14.4, so not much changing in that regard. And oh, Emerson Fittipaldi on the side of the road now, as we were talking about him earlier, with a puncture. So the Ferrari suffering a puncture here in the last part of this race. And that'll be a DNF for Ferrari. Obviously, good news for Zach Speed in that regard. And, well, quite curious that Emerson Fittipaldi had just pitted a couple laps ago for fresh tires. So was it an issue with the tires he was supplied there, or just unlucky with that puncture? But does mean John Nielsen moves up into 5th. Jan Lammers up into 6th. Michael Andretti will move up into 7th position, and that means Mika Hakkinen now will be moving back into the points. And that again means that Eddie Lawson will be inside the top 10. Actually P9 for him then. And then Roberto Moreno, who's been trying to make his way back up the field throughout the race. Let's see how his lap times are looking from Moreno. Last lap time is 17.6, so not quite sure if Moreno still has to pit, but his teammate Senna in 4th position. Nelson Piquet now looking at a podium. So he'll be pleased, and Raxter obviously has vocally complained in the media about the performance of his team, and that he'd like to see some better results. But Benetton now looking at a potential podium, and with Ross Cheever being out of the running, Benetton could close up quite a couple of points there to Minardi. If PK would finish in third, that would mean Benetton would be on 43 points compared to the 45 of Minardi, so they might be able to fight for that 5th spot in the constructor in the last part of the season here. But let's just not jinx it, because seen time and time again that Benetton is quite fragile, and we've seen a lot of retirements in the last couple of laps of some of these Grand Prix. As Gugelmin now comes up to the back of, that will be Jeff Lees in the Williams. Now on the straightaway, that Ferrari just breezing by the Williams, showing the difference in engine power. And Gugelmin, yeah, just solidly leading now, 36 seconds ahead of second place because of his teammate retiring. And Alain Prost now in second, so McLaren looking good for some decent points. 8 points to be picked up by McLaren, which again can increase their advantage over Lotus, who are 10 points behind. Meanwhile, we do have Nelson Piquet in third, then Ayrton Senna in fourth. John Nielsen in fifth here. So Lammers and Nielsen looking at some good points, of course. They'll be looking at scoring, 4 points, 7 points in total. So that means their deficit to Ferrari at this point will only be 1 point in the constructors. And also it means that Jan Lammers will keep the lead of the Drivers' Championship. That does really set up the last 3 races of the season very nicely. And just shows how quickly tides can swing in the Managers League here. As, at the start it really looked like Ferrari was just going to run away with it. No questions asked. Obviously they had quite a rough start of the season, having those 3 rounds in a row where they had a double DNF. Ferrari did. So it was looking quite rough at that point, with Zach Speed taking the lead. But then came back, had a great string of results. With round 7, round 8, they scored a 1-2. Then round 9, another victory. Round 10, 2 podium places in second and third. But then another couple of DNFs, and then caused Zach Speed to be right up there again. Obviously, in the last part of the season here, the finishes will matter a lot, because the money that's tied to some of these positions, like 4th and 5th, or 5th and 6th, will matter a lot coming into the last few rounds, depending on, can they get the teams of like Zach Speed and Ferrari, can they get a little bit of a advantage in going into the last upgrade round. And then we have Michael Andretti here. Oh, it says a transmission issue, but seems to me Andretti has had some other issues. So might have made a mistake somewhere. Or was that just a result of the transmission failure? Michael Andretti might have smacked the wall somewhere because of the transmission blocking up. But that is a Tyrrell out of the running. So both Tyrrells not finishing. Very unfortunate. we will now see. It does mean that Eddie Lawson, once again, Eddie Lawson up into the points. So quite curious result there, of course, as the Eurobruns have just every race in the past 3 races they've been able to capitalize off of other teams just not making it to the finish line. It's quite incredible to see, honestly, and it's a strategy that has worked off, has worked for them. Obviously, Eddie Lawson still having to is gonna have to keep that Lotus behind him from Roberto Moreno to end inside the points, but yeah, Cozy probably looking at this once again with a smile. Yeah, those Eurobruns have really punched above their weight this season. And, well, you never know, but they might be looking at a decent finish at the end of the year. And who says, you know, give them those last 3 rounds if they score another good haul of points, and let's say Ligier doesn't score any anymore, then might still be able to overhaul them. At the moment, of course, Mika Hakkinen still in that 7th place. So for now, Hakkinen securing those points for Ligier, which would make them stay ahead of Eurobrun. And of course, is gonna move them 1 point or 2 points closer to the Tyrrell. In which case, they'll only be 7 points behind the Tyrrell squad. Yeah, the French-colored Ligier doing quite well, of course, in 8th place in the constructor, so not ideally not where they'd want to be, I don't think, but have outperformed the bottom 3 quite neatly. But also feels like Ligier could have gotten a bit more out of the season. But yeah, just things haven't gone their way so far. And before we head to the end of the race, let's take a couple of laps on board with Maurizio Guamin, as I'll take a very short break here to come back for the end of the race. come back now to see that Nelson Piquet with another issue. So had electrical issues there. And let's see what position he comes out in. So Nelson Piquet comes out in P4, P5, I want to say. Is on fresh tires now, so with 4 laps to go here, he'll have to put in a qualifying stint to get back past John Nielsen and, perhaps get up to Ayrton Senna, but I don't believe he'll have that pace. I mean, it could happen, but we'll see about that one. Because we'll go on board with him here for a while. See, now he is taking lots of speed into the corners, but losing out to that podium position, Nelson Piquet. Now the question being, can he get back up into 4th? Bit of a shame there for Benetton, as that was a good moment to capitalize here. I think that's Gugelmin in front, actually. He's keen on lapping almost the entire field here today. Now Piquet, you can just see the amount of speed he's carrying here. It is full-on qualifying lap pace. And the question now, of course, can he get back past John Nielsen? I don't think he'll be close enough to Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna can't even see him in the background here as we're on board, so he'll be too far ahead. Oh, he's almost right up to the gearbox of John Nielsen. Nielsen even going a little bit defensive already as they head through Aurelia, turn 7, and then down into the S section. And through the last corner, let's see, can PK make a run here onto the straightaway in the slipstream? Does get alongside and past, actually. So yeah, moves up onto the inside of John Nielsen. So John Nielsen down to P5 again. Now Nelson Piquet unleashed to perhaps challenge for P3, but I don't see it happening, to be honest. But good thing is that he did get out on track again. Hasn't really lost any crucial points to any of the other teams. Will gain a little bit less compared to Minardi then, but at least he's not out of the race, like we've seen so many times this season for Benetton. Let's just see, meanwhile, his teammate Johnny Herbert still in P11, so he's still running as well, which is good to see. Just to perhaps build his confidence up a bit. Seeing that Piquet actually keeping up with that Ferrari of Gugelmin on his qualifying trim, pretty much. See how far. Oh, and someone in the gravel there. Mika Hakkinen with a mistake. He's trying to get going again. But not sure what's happening here. Oh, he's struggling, and he's now let Johnny Herbert. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on here for Mika Hakkinen. He has trouble getting out of that gravel pit. He's just trying to get out of the way for some of the drivers here. Oh, there he gets going again. But yeah, that was a very strange occurrence there for Mika Hakkinen. Not quite sure what happened there. But Michele Alboreto up in P9, so he's just outside of the points. Nelson Piquet still there, ready to Gugelmin. So yeah, Senna now coming past the start finish, so there's no way Gugelmin or Piquet will get anywhere close. Being said, PK lining up a move here on the Ferrari. But I don't think the Benetton has quite the pace on the straightaway to make that move stick, so it'll have to just stick behind and finish out the race this way. So Gugelmin on the last lap here. Heading down to Parabolica Interior one last time. And then through that last technical section. Aurelia first. Oh, and actually, see now, Jan Lammers reporting issues.
Try and get back.
Well, we'll keep an eye on Lammers as he'll probably drop back quite a bit more. But Mauricio Gugelmin now comes down the start-finish straight and wins the Portuguese Grand Prix in the first race of the 2 Iberian races coming up. So Gugelmin with a great victory. John Nielsen actually finishing there. Oh, and Jan Lammers. He's gonna come across the line with his car on fire. So that's a first. Jan Lammers getting across the car, dragging that Zach speed across the line that's on fire, and surely he will have to get out of the car now, but that's a finish for Jan Lammers. And he will pull over into the sandbanks now. Let's see here. Alain Prost finishing in P2 on the podium. Ayrton Senna now coming around the last corner. And that will be P3 for him. Then it is Nelson Piquet. He already crossed the finish line in 4th. John Nielsen in 5th. Yeah, Jan Lammers in 6th, obviously. So that was quite incredible to see him. Lammers dragging that Zach speed across the line, putting everything in it. Probably coasting across the line at that point as his engine was on fire. And then Moreno in 7th, Eddie Lawson in 8th. Michele Alboreto just outside of the points paying positions. Oh, let's see here. So yeah, full race results. See now, Mauricio Gugelmin, great dominant performance to come back from his DNF last time around. So in P1 for him. 2nd will be Alain Prost in the McLaren, so great result for him as well. Ayrton Senna getting another podium, so yeah, he's been looking quite solid, and Lotus managing to score 2 podiums in their last, well, now 3 podiums in their last 3 races, so great result for Lotus all around. PK, unfortunate with that issue in the last part of the race there, but still manages to get 4th, so not bad. John Nielsen then 5th. Jan Lammers obviously with that fire at the end, still managing to get that Zach speed across the line. Then comes Roberto Moreno in 7th. Eddie Lawson finishing in 8th in the Eurogrund. Quite remarkable again that the Eurogrund finishes in the points. Michele Alboreto for Minardi just outside the points. Then comes Mika Hakkinen in the Ligier to round out the top 10. Johnny Herbert finishing the race as well in 11th, so not too bad for Benetton. Jeff Lees in 12th. Theo Fabi in 13th will be last of the runners that finished. And then Michael Andretti with a transmission failure. Emerson Fittipaldi with that puncture after his pit stop. Satoru Nakajima electrical issue caused him to pull over to the track. And then Ross Cheever in the Minardi with the oil leak. Then we had that massive collision between Patrese, Martin Brundle, Alan Sir Jr., which I think Jeff Lees was also caught up in. So that will be 3 DNFs, 18th, 19th, and 20th. Then Bobby Rahal with a transmission failure, and Dalmas also early on with a transmission failure. And yeah, with these results, It's getting quite close, as Gugelmin will be on 58 points. Jan Lammers will score 3 points, so he'll still be 1 point ahead. Indy drivers, of course, Ferrari will take, I think, the lead of the constructors. But it's all to play for in the coming 3 rounds. And I'm very keen to see how this season is going to end up. Will it be Ferrari? Will it be Zach Speed for the constructors? And most importantly, for the drivers, it's still all up for grabs between Prost, Lammers, Gugelmin. So, yeah, we will see. I enjoyed this race. I hope you guys did as well. And we'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.